Hello everyone. In this video, I will be briefing you about GE5103-W6A, which is all about budget and risk management. So there is a document structure that is given here. Please follow the document structure and complete your document. So I recommend you to follow the briefing that is given by me and make sure you write whatever the content you developed on your own, and everything should be written in past tense, and make sure don't write any definitions related to the topic. Assume your title, assume that you are completing that project work for somebody. Based on that, you are supposed to develop this project. Okay, so when you assume that you are working on that project and you are completing that project for somebody, some client, you will understand what are the important activities, actions, or resources you use in the process. So you also experience, based on your assumptions, you can understand what is optimal to write for this project. So the first step here is make sure you cross check your titles that are allocated to you. These are the titles that are allocated to you. So if not, maybe this is a common video. So make sure you cross check the titles that are given at the below. And you are also recommended to cross check your, it's like not recommendation, it's a mandatory thing to cross check your week 2A and week 4A, because this is a continuation task, and we already worked on couple of weeks on the same topic. Okay, so this is a continuation topic, and these are continuation sections that we will be writing for the given topic. Total maximum word limit is 1,000 words, not more than that. Okay, so make sure you write maximum of 1,000 words. The first section of the report is describing the overall budget. With respect to your project, budget speaks about what are the important elements about which you will be spending the estimated project budget money. Okay, so whatever the money you have to complete the project, how that money will be spent, and what are the important elements on which you will be spending the money. You will be listing out all those activities, all those major elements, and you will be estimating, or like you will be proposing what amount of money will be spent on that that element. Okay, for example, if you take week 4A, in that we might have discussed about the cost, week 4A or week 2A. So in that, where we mentioned like for materials we need to pay certain amount of money. For the resources that are working on the project, we are supposed to pay certain amount of money. For the technology, we are supposed to pay certain amount of money. Like that, we can classify it. We can classify whatever the money we are having, that into different parts, and we can create a chart related to that. Say, for example, let us search for some of the budget related charts. You will understand how the budget related project can be classified into. When I searched for budget chart, I received these things. Like, let me cross check the images. In that, you can cross check different type of budgets and budget related information. Maybe budget chart of project. So these are professional fees, reports, construction costs, contractor costs. These are some elements, and these are some kind of detailing that are given. So maybe like if you take BUDG, budget of construction project, if it is a construction project. So maybe like this, it might have divided into construction materials 38%. This is the budget chart, and we are supposed to discuss about all these elements. Okay, you can take any project. For that you will get a sample. You make sure that you customize the design using Excel charts, or you can use some other type of design tools to create a chart which clearly speaks about your budget. Okay, so make sure you do that. And what is the expectation of this section? This section asks about a chart, a overall budget chart, and we are supposed to provide a detailed explanation about where the money goes, how the money is spent on the project. The second section of the document is all about project requirements. In the project charter and also in the scope and schedule, we might have discussed about various important requirements that the project is expected to perform. So in this one, we speak about technical requirements. For example, what are the key expectations that concludes that the project is completed? For example, construction of house is there. So what are the key elements that speaks that explains that the construction of house is completed? Maybe we say like pillars are established, slab is done, installation of walls like construction of walls is done, installation of doors and windows is done. Like this, these are the key functional requirements. If it is a website development, we say that structural design is completed, database is completed, and web applications are divided in that way. Like we speak about different key elements that speaks about completion of the proposed project. So you are supposed to identify at least five important requirements that speaks about completion of your project, proposed project work. Next important task is development of cost management plan. It is clearly mentioned that cost management plan should be one chart. The cost management plan should be self-made, and the cost management plan should include the task, minutes or hours it takes to complete the task, the days it takes to complete the task, hourly rate it costs to complete the task, and the cost to complete each task. So for this task, I recommend you to cross check your uh, like project schedule that you have developed in week 4. So maybe like you might have developed your project schedule like this. Okay, so what I want you to do is you just customize your table, so that it will be easy for you to address all the requirements that are asked in the document. What it is asked, task name, task, the task is already present in your plan, then minutes or hours it takes to complete the task. So minutes or hours it takes to complete the task, the days it takes to complete the task. Okay, here we have the days it takes to task. Like every day, maybe 8 hours usually people work. So what I do is like I will remove these things, and I will remove these things also because they are not necessary actually. Delete, and I will remove this one too. Whatever the spaces are there, that also I will remove, so that it will be easy for me to show it as a continuation task. So these are the tasks that I have, and these are the days I have. Days. So this is the task. This is days. So what it is required? It required how many hours they will be working. Hours. Daily, how many days people will work? Usually 8 hours. So it will be continuously 8 hours regular process. So if you say it is 5 hours or 6 hours, it is up to you. You can decide that. Okay. Next, what it is, hours it takes, days it takes to complete, hourly rate, per hour rate. Okay. Hourly rate, you just include on your own. Maybe I'm writing HR rate. Okay. Otherwise, you can write like per hour rate. Okay. It's up to you. You decide what is good for you and what is your own way of representing it. You just make sure that you represent in that way. Delete it, and maybe $100. So what I do, like for all the thing, now it cannot be $100. It can change also. Maybe this is $80. Maybe this is $200, like that. You can randomly change it. Now, what will be the estimated cost? Next, hourly rated cost and complete the task. The total cost to complete each task. This is total cost. So what it will be like hours in. It will be like is equal to hours into number of days into the cost. Okay, these three things should be multiplied. So for each task, this is the cost, and finally you just sum it, auto sum, and you will get the total cost of the document. Okay, so like this, you have to do your work, and I recommend you to submit the same thing. by properly formatting the table. Okay. So this is cost management plan. What are the costs we have? How many hours each day people will work? How many days it takes to complete the task? Per hour rate and the total cost. When you add everything, this is total cost. Okay. So total cost of total project, complete project. You just copy this one and paste it here. Okay. This is your cost management plan. Explain it in just one paragraph. That is enough. Okay. So now, by this cost management plan is completed. The next part of the document is contingency plan. It clearly asks two questions. We are supposed to address these two questions in two different paragraphs. Okay. So you are supposed to address these two questions as a part of completing this one. Usually, what you understand about contingency plan? If you have any idea, it is fine. Otherwise, so let me explain you contingency plan. Like, so when we have when we are allocated with certain budget and we are spending that budget on the project, so there is a possibility that because of certain uncertainties, there is a possibility of increasing number of days people work on project, or uh, reduce the reduce number of days that are proposed to work on the project. So it won't go according to the estimations. Most often, what we estimate will be different from what we really implement in practical. Okay, in such situations, if the budget estimated is overrun, means for example, if you are estimated to complete the project in 100 rupees, if it is not done, it will be a difficult situation for the project manager to explain it to the project owners, stating that project is incomplete, and asking it is also difficult for them to ask for additional money to complete it. For that purpose, what project managers, project owners, or project managers do is like they create some kind of contingency amount. It means that, for example, the difference, like the difference between what actually costing and what is budgeted, if it is minimum, and if it can be handled, contingency budget will be allocated for that one. It means that if the project is a $1.5 million project, at least 10% of that project worth will be allocated as contingency budget. Okay, so that can be used to complete the project within the scheduled time and within the estimated cost. Okay, so this is all about contingency plan. So please cross check from internet about these two questions and address them in two different paragraphs. By that, contingency plan is complete. The next one is risk management plan. So it is different from what we have done in previous sessions. So here the risk management plan should contain only one chart, cross check about it, and the risk management plan should be self made, and how the risk is show the risk for your project should not be copied or pasted from anything from the textbook or article. Okay, so here try to understand what kind of risks your project is going to experience. Please search on internet and identify create a table like what. Let me show you the risk matrix related images. You will understand it very clear. This is one of the best examples. So usually risk matrix speaks about, this is risk matrix actually. Like what it speaks about? It speaks about impact, likelihood of happening. So for example, there is a risk, maybe power short circuit is the risk. Okay. There is a risk. What is the risk? Risk is a power short circuit. How we can define it? Maybe because of some certain situations, the short circuit can be happen for the within the project environment, because of which certain works might be delayed, or certain resources will get spoiled or damaged. In that way, we describe the risk. Then we should speak about impact, likelihood of happening. Okay, impact and likelihood of happening. And based on that, a risk rating should be conducted. So these are some common elements. You can also elaborate them. You just cross check this link. I will share this link with you. From that, you can easily understand how a risk matrix can be created. So this is one best example. This is the risk, and describe. You can describe that risk. Then likelihood of happening of that risk can be written, and impact. What kind of impact it will be having, that should be written. what kind of risk rating you can give, that you are supposed to include it here. Okay, then what kind of response you can give it to, so like you can respond, how you can respond to that risk so that the risk is properly managed, mitigated, controlled, or eradicated. So these things can be done. Okay, so make sure you cross check this report and properly identify what are the possible risks for your project, and based on that you can write it. So while identifying your risks, what is your project, you please make sure you are aware of that, and such relate risks related to that project. So for example, construction project and risks, maybe software development and risks. In that way you can cross check internet, and you can find certain elements related to the risk that could influence or impact your project. Okay, so make sure you cross check this link. It helps you to understand the risk matrix in better way. After completing the risk matrix chart, you should explain it properly in one paragraph. The next topic is change management process. This section is very important for any project. So when some certain changes, if you want to make in the proposed project, after the project charter is active, everybody accepted the project, and while we are continuing to complete the project, there is a possibility that different situations might happen where we want to make certain changes to the projects that we have proposed. In such situations, how we can handle the change management process, because if you make some kind of changes to your project, it definitely influence the budget that we have planned for, the resources that are required to complete for, and the time that we need to complete the project. All these elements will be influencing because of the change that we implement in the project. Okay, here there is nothing to create any chat kind of thing. We want to address three different questions. So make sure you write this in two different paragraphs, or three different, at least two paragraphs are expected here. It is very simple. These are very simple questions. Straight away, you can identify it from the internet also, or from the textbook. If change occurs, who must assess the change first? And who are the people involved in changes within the organization? Who are the people responsible for the monitoring the change process? So make sure you cross check the textbook that is given to you. You will find all the answers. Otherwise, change management process in project, you just search for that in internet, and you will definitely get proper detailing related to that. Make sure you write it in two, at least two paragraphs. The final section of the report is project rate. You are supposed to create a project rate. So the first one is one paragraph describing each of the categories that applies to your project. There are four categories: risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. Apply them to your project, and who is responsible for each category and why it should be described. Okay, so there are four different categories: risks, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. Okay, you are supposed to describe each category for your project. Okay, first understand what is rate. Based on that, you can write about it. Okay, make sure that whatever you write, it is relevant to your project, and you are supposed to write when a risk is happened, who is responsible for that, and why they are responsible. That should be addressed in this section. So it contains of four paragraphs for each section, and describing who is responsible for addressing that particular section, and why they are responsible for that. That should be written in proper explanation. Okay, it is not a definition kind of thing you are going to write. So some of the risks, like maybe it can be a definition, but you should write it as it is. It you are applying it for your project. Okay, so that is for project, right? So make sure you write it properly. All the best.